Welcome to This Day in His Story, created by American Heritage Worldwide, a reminder that every day holds something new to learn. Did you know that Charles Dickens was a little like each one of his characters in The Christmas Carol? Dickens regularly walked 10 to 20 miles a day and often through the night among the cold, dark streets of London for inspiration. It was here that he imagined Tiny Tim's crutch marks in the snow. Dickens drove a hard bargain like Jacob Marley and was deeply in debt like Bob Cratchit, but did not let this overwhelm his ability to care for his wife's sister and younger brother, while he and his wife were expecting their fifth child. Much like the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future, Dickens understood what it was to be spiritually reborn. Walk down the streets through the night as together we learn about transformation, redemption, and charity toward the poor, and listen for the voice of Tiny Tim calling, "God bless us, everyone."
Today, we are strapping in for a story that, it basically is Christmas for so many of us.
It really is. We're talking about Ebenezer Scrooge, the Ghosts. It's a tale that feels like it's been around forever.
It's so universal, so endlessly adapted. But the story behind the story, that's where things get really interesting.
They absolutely are. And that's our mission for this deep dive. We're not just looking at the plot. We want to understand the intense pressure cooker environment,
Right.
the personal crisis, and the financial desperation that created A Christmas Carol in just 6 weeks back in 1843.
6 weeks. And the success, it wasn't just a success, it was a phenomenon, right?
Oh, an immediate cultural moment. It was published in London on December 19th, 1843.
Just before Christmas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The first print run was 6,000 copies, and they were all gone, every single one, by Christmas Eve.
In 5 days.
5 days. That kind of demand is almost unheard of, especially for a brand new story hitting right at a holiday.
And it didn't just stop there, did it? The demand kept going after the holiday.
Not at all. The public just wanted more and more. By the end of the next year, 1844, they'd rushed out 13 more editions.
Wow.
So it didn't just hit the ground running, it sprinted into the literary history books, and, it fundamentally changed how we even think about Christmas.
Yeah, okay, let's unpack this, because that kind of success, it doesn't usually come from a place of comfort and ease.
No.
When Dickens wrote The Carol, as he called it, he was basically facing an existential crisis.
He was. That 6-week timeline is staggering, but you have to understand his motivation. He was deeply, deeply in debt.
His other books weren't selling.
His last novel, Martin Chuzzlewit, wasn't doing well enough to cover his rather substantial lifestyle. He'd taken a huge advance from his publishers.
Oh, he needed a knockout hit.
He needed it just to stay solvent. This wasn't an artistic whim. It was a desperate financial gamble.
And it wasn't just professional pressure, was it? There was a lot going on at home.
A huge amount. He and his wife, Catherine, were expecting their 5th child.
And at the same time, they were supporting his wife's sister and his younger brother.
It's a colossal burden for anyone, let alone an author whose income was, drying up.
So that creates this incredible irony.
It's a profound irony. This story, which is probably the most powerful argument for charity and generosity in all of English literature, it was born from his own crushing financial stress.
So he was kind of living both sides of it. He was a bit like Bob Cratchit, trying to keep his family afloat.
Right.
But also like Jacob Marley, having to drive a hard bargain with his publishers just to survive.
That duality is absolutely key. He understood the debt-ridden man, but he also understood the businessman with everything on the line.
And he'd tried writing Christmas stories before this, hadn't he?
He had 3 of them, actually, but they were pretty forgettable. They just didn't have the fire that this one did.
So what made this one different?
This time, he poured all of that anxiety, all of that personal history directly into the work.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. If the crisis was the engine, what were the actual sparks? What were the things he saw that lit the fuse?
We can trace it back to a couple of major catalysts. The first was really a powerful social awakening for him.
You're talking about the Ragged School?
Exactly. He visited the Field Lane Ragged School, which was a charity for street children in London's worst slums.
And what was a place like that like in 1843?
It was horrific, just, cold, damp buildings. And when Dickens visited, he saw extreme poverty, filth, children who were malnourished, many of them victims of child labor.
So this put a face on the poverty he'd been writing about.
It did. It made it real. And he realized the story he needed to write had to be like a moral missile aimed right at the heart of the wealthy and the indifferent.
So that's the social conscience.
Yeah.
But the structure of the story, the ghosts, Christmas past, present, and future, where did that idea come from?
The actual blueprint for the haunting, that came to him on a railway ride to Manchester. He got the whole plot in one go.
Just like that.
Well, he got the framework. The sources say the details didn't come easily at all. He had the skeleton, but he really had to fight for the rest.
And he did that by literally walking through the fog. I love this detail. He would walk 15 to 20 miles a night through London.
Every single night,
Yeah.
he was immersing himself in the gloom, walking himself into the story, into exhaustion.
Bringing those scenes to life in his mind.
He was putting himself right in Scrooge's world, imagining the cold, the shadows, and even, imagining Tiny Tim's little crutch marks in the snow.
And he was connecting all of that back to his own life, wasn't he? He was haunted by his own childhood poverty.
Profoundly. He knew what child labor felt like because he'd lived it. He was forced to work in a blacking factory when his own father was sent to debtor's prison.
That's what makes Bob Cratchit feel so real.
It is. Dickens saw himself and his own father in Bob Cratchit, this man whose debt and difficulty couldn't crush his goodness or his love for his sick child.
So the Cratchits are basically Dickens writing his own emotional history.
He was writing to exercise his own past, but also to try and change the future for other people. That's where you get these powerful themes of redemption, transformation, and our responsibility to the poor.
And the whole story really hinges on the transformation of Scrooge, who is just one of the greatest villains ever written.
A perfect villain.
And the structure is just genius. Marley comes to set the stakes,
Yeah.
and then you get past, present, and yet to come, each one peeling back a layer.
It's a perfect psychological journey. And what's so fascinating is that the effort he put into that structure is visible in the physical manuscript itself.
You're talking about the original handwritten copy.
Exactly. It still exists, and it is not a clean draft. Not at all.
So it's messy.
It's a testament to those 6 grueling weeks. It's covered in edits, heavy crossouts, notes in the margins, little scraps of paper pasted over things.
So he was really fighting for it on the page.
He was. For example, he constantly tweaked the descriptions of the ghosts to make them just right. But one of the most famous edits, it involves Tiny Tim. In an early draft, the last line was just, "God bless us." But he crossed it out, and he revised it to the line we all know.
God bless us, everyone.
God bless us, everyone!
That one word changes everything. It shows you the level of detail he was working at to get the maximum emotional impact.
Wow. So that messy manuscript, which is at Harvard's Fogg Museum now, it's basically a map of the battle he fought to create this thing.
It's the raw evidence. It proves this story was not easily won.
And what did that battle do to him personally? Once the book was done, he felt a change in himself,
A
right?
huge one. He felt spiritually reborn, almost exactly like Scrooge on Christmas morning.
And he was only 31 at the time, but he'd already written Oliver Twist and other classics. This was something different, though.
It was a monumental release for him. He famously described himself as feeling light as a feather, happy as an angel, merry as a schoolboy, giddy as a drunken man.
It wasn't just a bestseller then, it was a personal exorcism.
It cleansed his own emotional debts, you could say.
Yeah.
And it cemented his role not just as an entertainer, but as a social crusader. He found his purpose.
He really did. He realized that, in his words, mankind was my business. The common welfare was my business.
And he didn't just let the book speak for itself, did he? He became its greatest performer.
Yes. Later in his career, he started giving public readings of A Christmas Carol. And these weren't just, an author at a podium.
What were they like?
They were full-blown theatrical performances, a one-man show.
So he did all the voices.
All the voices, all the facial expressions, all the gestures for every single character. He could switch from Scrooge's croak to Tiny Tim's sweetness in an instant.
Unbelievable.
The critics at the time said he was the characters, he embodied them, he made sure that moral message landed with undeniable force.
It's incredible to think that all the pressure and the pain are what gave this story its power.
I think so.
Even today, that voice of Tiny Tim calling out, "God bless us, everyone," it still carries this genuine, undeniable feeling of hope.
It absolutely does. It connects back to that fundamental human desire, Like Scrooge, we want to honor Christmas in our hearts all year long.
It's a sort of annual moral reset.
It's a reminder that transformation is always possible for anyone. And we can take that message even broader. As the sources remind us, the call is to press forward with love in our hearts, walking in the brightness of hope.
So what does all this mean for you, the listener? You know now that A Christmas Carol wasn't just written, it was fought for, physically and financially.
He took all that personal desperation, the debt, the deadlines, the memories, and turned it into this enduring message of charity and hope.
So when you encounter Scrooge's journey this year, think about it. Are you seeing Dickens' own pain on the page, his debt, or his final triumphant victory over all of it? What stands out to you about the
Thank
true
you
cost
for
of
joining
this
us for
timeless
this day
story?
in his story. May the lessons of yesterday inspire you to see God's hand today and to play your part in his story now. For more faith-based learning, visit ahsworldwide.org, the homeschool for faith and family.